Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the U.S.S. Adequate. Her continuing mission until we are cancelled and replaced with something far superior. To review every Star Trek episode and movie in existence. To seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where many other YouTube shows have gone before. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Star Trekkin with Nerdy Up North. I am your host, Captain Goodwill, and I am joined as ever. Oh no, wait. Oh no.
By Mirror Universe.
Oh my god.
Synoiz.
It's Mirror Universe Synoiz. There's been some sort of iron storm that the Adequate flew through, and our science officer's been replaced by Goth Synoiz.
Goth Synoiz, I have come to spit upon all of your bread products and rub all of your baguettes uncomfortably.
Oh my god, what are we going to do, guys? It's Mirror Universe Synoiz here to review the first episode of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds. How are you, Mirror Universe Synoiz?
Awful, as always. I love the idea of just the Mirror Universe people just being like unnecessarily evil, but they're not. It's just be like unquestionably just be like, I bought a puppy just so I could punch it.
They just didn't get out of the teenage angst. That's all it was. It's not a phase, mother.
In a world of teenage angst
and goatees.
Yeah, I'm all right. I decided to double down. Basically, I couldn't get my makeup off from yesterday. I put it on a bit too strong.
Oh god!
And I couldn't get the eyeliner fully off, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna double down on it then. So it's
But we have discovered a new bit. So from the ashes of exhaustion comes a new character. Emo Snatch.
Well, it's quite funny because obviously when we were meant to be meeting up at 7 to get ready and stuff for this, and I popped to the shops and totally forgot I'd done this. And so it's just to the shop, and the woman was like, have a good night. And I was like, that's odd. And then got home and I was like, ah.
Hello, everybody in the chat. Hello, Peachy. We see Beth with her cereal. We see Captain Quinn. We see Adam, the sexy musician, the house band of Nerdy. Oof. He's 7 foot tall and he can pluck anything.
Pluck my strings, Adam. Oof.
Ooh, finger my E. But anyway,
speaking of about mountable things, we've got Anson Mount in Strange New World.
Anson Mount me.
Yeah, okay, that is his true title. But it's just this idea where you're just going like, it's total daddy energy, and I'm here for it.
Well, this is the thing. This is what everyone's been saying this from Thursday onwards. Daddy's home, and it is true. Although Daddy did have to take shore leave. Can we not stop saying Daddy, please? Because it's starting to creep me out a little bit. Daddy.
Oh my.
Oh
Daddy.
My. But how has your week been?
It's been my week's been good, but it's one of those ones where like I have made anyone who has tried to deal or work with me this month will notice that I'm a bit out of sorts, and it's because I was trying to have a lazy month, and I thought the lazy month strategy was to just not fill in my calendar, and it's led to everyone saying, "Oh, are you free on this date?" and me being like, let me just check. And by check, I mean I can't look at anything. I just have to look at every email I've ever received or every message I've received and be like, oh, no, I'm not. It's really, really annoying, but it's got a bit too full. But this week it was, I was busy on Monday night. Busy on Monday night. I was with a friend on Tuesday night because he's like going through a tough time. Wednesday night, I think I was free, so I think I did some streaming. Yesterday, I was in drag in Newcastle at Newcastle Sixth Form College, doing talking to the kids there. So basically, it was like they had me, Baron LeVay, who's a drag king, who we had on as a guest 2 weeks ago, and then another queen called Celine Duwon, which I think is quite a good fun. And they were basically talking to the students about drag and about growing up queer and stuff. And it was really fun. Obviously, I just took the piss the whole time, and not being able to drop a single F-bomb was really difficult.
You didn't swear?
You're not allowed to swear at all. And I did one risque joke, and the lecturers were like, this delayed reaction. I was just like, okay. And then one student got it and was like,
Celine Duwon. That
It is.
is one of my
It's
most
great.
favourite names now. Celine Dion.
There's so many good names, like, but yeah, no, so that was quite good. And then obviously came back and then did the Girl podcast where we were speaking to one of the queens from season 2 of Queen of the Universe, which is like, it's kind of like a competitor to like RuPaul's Drag Race, but where it's more focused on like performance and singing rather than just how you look, which is Drag Race. So all of the like queens on it are like these crazy good singers, and you're like, okay, this is up to the bar a little bit. So it was really good. It was who was it? Giselle we were speaking to yesterday. It was great.
Fantastic. It sounds like you have had a wonderful, if not busy, week. I have just had an awful week. So yeah, moving on.
Okay, right, there we go. Least spoken about that, the better.
How was your week? Shit. So
but new track.
New track. First of all, the chat. Daddy's got it.
I slam my credit card down and say, Daddy's got it. Daddy's got it.
Shout out to Saturday Night Live. Also,
I will be streaming after this on Twitch, playing more Final Fantasy VIII. So you are free to join and play the Daddy's Got It clip.
The links are below for Synoiz's Twitch and Mirror Universe's Synoiz's Twitch. Shout out to Strange New Pod, who very kindly, all the way from them United States of America, sent me a rare shiny. Look at that.
It's so shiny. Ooh. I want it. Precious.
All part of their little promo for their podcast, Strange New Pod, which you can find on YouTube. So obviously once you've done shaming us for this episode, you can go over there and have a look at what they've got. Also shout out to Joe from Spectrum Sanctorum, who has just interviewed a very special guest. But we won't say anything. But if you are a fan of Spectrum Sanctorum, hang tight for a big reveal coming soon on that. However, Synoiz, or Mirror Universe Synoiz, shall we charge up the agonizer?
Hold on, what is it? Is it going to be Mirror Universe? So M-U-S, Mus, is it?
Or you can just reverse the name, so it'd be Zoins.
Zoins?
Like
doing an Alucard Dracula thing.
Yeah, Zoins.
No one got it. Yeah.
Shall we get in?
Captain Quinn's just got into Shuttlepod. Isn't it so good?
Oh, shout out to Mark and the Shuttlepod team.
It's so good.
Fantastic.
It's become my thing. I've literally, while I've been doing other stuff, like where I haven't needed to like listen or talk, this week I've just had it on constantly. I've listened to the Armin Shimmerman episode like twice now. And the stuff like it was really odd though. It was like the, who's the main guy behind everything? Rick Berman. The Rick Berman episode. And he basically just says, oh, this is the only Trek-related thing I've done since, like, the 80s. And you're like, what? He just hasn't gone to any conventions. He hasn't done any things about it. All he's done is, like, talking heads bits for TV shows and stuff. And you're like, that's mad. You'd expect that he'd be at all the conventions and he'd be on all the podcasts. And
Yeah, but there is some controversy surrounding Rick Berman that we won't get into.
Well, there's the whole Jadzia thing and the whole, like, keeping, like, you know, queerness less, you know,
selective dress codes for certain genders, shall we say?
Yeah, I think it's this thing though. It's like it was the 90s. I will give it that. I will. Yes. And to be fair, whatever happened, he gave us a lot of topless Tucker in in Enterprise.
Yeah, but huge shout out to Mark Cartier, who we interviewed last week. Fantastic gentleman. And if you are a Star Trek fan, obviously you must be if you are watching us on a Friday night and not enjoying the glorious weather, please.
You hear that, Beth?
You hear that,
watching.
Beth? Yeah.
Get watching, Beth.
Put the cereal down and watch. Please go follow the Shuttlepod show. They interview some of the, well, all the biggest names, I would say, in Star Trek, and they've got loads more coming, not related to Star Trek, shall we say, coming forward, but we will keep our mouths shut. Nerdy Up North says it's so warm. Yes, Nerdy Up North, I am in a two-piece Starfleet uniform in a closed room with a lot of lights.
And I'm a goth.
Yes. So if Mirror Universe Synoiz goes outside, he will burst into flames. As is the rule with all goths. Yes.
It's just fucking Nosferatu it.
Yeah. Where's your parasol? That's what you need.
You know what, this thing, I fucking love one of those, like a proper sort of goth parasol. You know, what's the movie where they, uh, Tim Burton basically made a movie of a TV series and it has like Johnny Depp as a vampire, and I've totally forgot what it's called.
Oh God, anything with Johnny Depp in.
If you know, Chad, but basically
Yeah.
he has the full-on Nightmare Before Christmas goth parasol, like the bat parasol, and it's the most iconic thing in the world. And I'm like, this needs to be just a thing, like
I
just goth parasols.
I love the fact that we have developed a goth snatch in the space of 12 minutes. And
Well,
I think,
you haven't seen Velcro Snatch. Velcro Snatch is worse than this, but it's like this is like God, Dark Shadows. That's it.
yeah.
Well done, Nerdy Up North.
Can I make a request for your umbrella to hide the sun? Can it be one from a beer garden that just says Stella Artois all around it?
It needs to say Stella Artois, but in a really goth, like doom metal font.
Yeah, but in Microsoft
You know,
Word,
where it
Microsoft Word Gothic.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Uh,
That'd be amazing. I'm so gothic. I only use gothic fonts. Like, you know,
I love that. Can you imagine the letters? It'd be amazing. Hello to Spectrum Sanctorum, who's joining the chat. Hi, Joe. Yes. What is going on? Oh, Picard. Breaking news. Picard Season 3 DVD drops next month. Yes, I have seen there is a collector's with a load of Starfleet badges in it. I can't wait for that one, like. Mind you, I need the money first, so please, everybody, donate, please. Daddy wants a new PC. But
Daddy
anyway.
got it. No, Daddy hasn't got it.
Daddy's credit card can't be charged. So, shall we get into this week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds? Season 2, Episode 1, The Broken Circle.
Actually, hang on. Can we just have a bit of a gush about Strange New Worlds in general before we start this? Just in case, like, people in the chat haven't seen it.
Yes, go.
All I'm doing is calling Beth out for the whole thing. No, it's just so good. Like, it's genuinely, I hadn't seen it until a couple of weeks ago, and then basically had to binge it because I was like, oh, I'll do it one day. Oh, we're doing this soon, are we? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, before the Mark episode, I was like,
it crept up on us. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just, I was apprehensive because you know what it's like when someone says, oh, this is really good, you're absolutely going to love it. And then you go, that sounds like a challenge. I bet I'll hate it. But it was just so incredibly good. And that whole thing where I'm trying to describe why I don't like Discovery and what I don't like about Discovery, and then what I like about Voyager and Deep Space Nine and TNG and stuff. And this basically just goes, oh, it gets it. Like, where it's just such a wonderful ensemble cast. Like, everyone in it is amazing. You want to see more of everyone. It's not too actiony. It's a lot of talking and a lot of character development. And there's all these interconnected sort of plots going on with all the different characters and stuff. You've got a potential romance between Nurse Chapel and Spock.
Yeah.
You've got Spock undoing his emotions, as it were, because basically when we meet him in season 1, he's very calm and controlled. He's gone through years of like emotional sort of like what do you call it?
Suppression?
Control. Suppression. Such as Vulcans, despite him being half human. And then at the end of season 1, like, he has to lose control in order to sort of deal with a threat. And now in this season, he's basically going, oh, how do I suppress these again? And it's like everyone has a story, and everyone you want to be like, where's this going? What's Uhura going to do? Like, how's she feeling about stuff? What's Lan doing? What's her plot going to progress like? What's Una? And it's so good. And it's obviously, pure Trek wasn't big, long, every episode connected to each other. It was very much kind of, you got a 2-parter, you got a 3-parter, you could jump in at any point. Whereas this one, Strange New Worlds is very much, you kind of need to have seen the previous ones, but it fills you in at the beginning, kind of. But I'm kind of more forgiving of it for that, because it's just very good, and I care about everyone. Like, I was telling you, the only person I kind of have a problem with is the Doctor's voice grates on me a little bit because it's so husky.
Oh, Dr. Umbenga's, it's a very whispering.
Umbenga's voice, it's so husky, and I'm a bit like, just have a cough mint. Just, just literally
just have a lozenge.
Yeah, just have a lolly. Yeah, lozenge. And it sounds, and obviously I'm getting used to it, but when it first started, I was like, oh,
The thing is with Strange New Worlds, the fans wanted this was all down to the fans from 2019 saying we want this show, we want this show. Very much like what is happening after season 3 of Picard. The fans want Star Trek Legacy. We want it to continue. You have brought in these characters, old and new, and we want to see them continue. And very much with season 2 of Discovery, we had Una, we had Spock, and we had Pike, and it was like, yeah, we want to see more because these are characters that, yeah, I mean, Spock was already fleshed out. Let's not get that, but
yeah,
Pike was very well developed. Una was very well fleshed out within that, within those few episodes of season 2. And a lot of people have surmised that Strange New Worlds is possibly the most accessible Star Trek ever made, but it is the original series for the 21st century, where it has got the original series look and feel with a higher budget, but it's very episodic, it's very bright, it's very optimistic. Yes, there are dark tones in certain episodes throughout, but it's very Star Trek of the 60s without the 60s ideology, shall we say, without certain things that could, in a modern day audience, be construed as like, oh, that's a bit bigoted, that's a bit this, but it sort of goes, this is what the original series was and wanted to be, and we have just taken that formula and just distilled it into this show that even if you are not a Star Trek fan, you can love. Because I've been approached by people at work and they go, oh yeah, I don't really watch Star Trek, but I've watched Strange New Worlds and it's fun.
yeah,
And I think that the biggest thing a lot of people need to take away, it's fun. You
yeah,
don't need to know about anything with Star. It's set in a weird era where it's 10 years before the original series. There's nothing to like. Essentially, you could just disregard 55 years of Star Trek and just enjoy this because this is more or less the beginning.
What universe is it in? What
Prime.
timeline is this in?
Prime universe.
It is Prime because I wasn't sure if it's Kelvin or not.
No, no, it's Prime. It's Prime universe, but obviously there has to be a little bit of creative license taken because sets of the 60s would not translate well to 4K, 8K television of today, which is fine. And I think with Picard season 3, when they showed like an original series Enterprise, they were like, yes, you've got Pikes, which is on the shelf there, but it will eventually move into this shape that you enjoy. But this is still 10 years before. So as long as you realize that, Star Trek of the 60s didn't know that there was going to be 50, 60 years worth of franchise afterwards. So they were fast and loose with, ideology and story and stuff like that. And this is sort of playing fast and loose with the canon of the original series, which is sort of like, okay, as long as you don't go too far, but justify it.
But it does. It very much does that, and I like that it gets stuff that wasn't properly fleshed out, like the Gorn. The Gorn are a massive part of like this, and they appeared twice in the original series, didn't they? And one of them was just fighting Kirk, and now they've become a thing in the universe, like an actual race. Whereas before it was just like, what's the lizard creature? Oh, it's the Gorn, and it was that thing, and now they're like elaborating on it and being like, no, these are actually a scary thing. And it's kind of adding. It's so good that it's adding validity to the original series in a kind of weird way where people are going, oh, that wasn't so daft now, actually. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. They just couldn't achieve what they wanted to. I also like, and this is weird coming from an LGBT person, but it's the fact of I like that it's subtle, it's nuanced. The same as previous Trek, where it has a lot of representation in it, but it's not kind of pointing at it being like, look what we did, like it's not going like, oh, look at this, like it's all the characters, there's representation in there, and there's a lot of sort of depth in there, but it's subtle. Like, you know, it's the idea of going, we don't need to know all of that about a character, and later on we'll kind of get to that or something.
I like to
Whereas it was
think,
like,
yeah, I like to think that they are portraying it in a way that should be portrayed in a culture that has embraced this
yeah,
and has sort of it's been there for hundreds of years where oh yeah, well, yes, we've got a homosexual, we've got someone who is transgender, we have got someone who is non-binary. Why should we make a song and dance it?
yeah.
They are
It,
still, they are their own person. But yeah, we have, and I always link it back to
it's like I said about when we were talking about it previously, it's the fact of by not making a bigger deal out of it, it's better.
yeah,
Because the fact is, people watching it, kids watching it, adults watching it, they're going to be like, oh, no one's drawing attention to this. And then it becomes like ingrained in you that, oh, that's not a big deal. Just like Uhura was in the original, where it was the idea of going, yeah, we're not making a fuss that there's, a woman as number one. We're not making a fuss about the
yeah,
fact that, like, there's someone on the bridge who is like black, or like the actual person driving the ship, the pilot is black. Like, and because it doesn't draw attention to it, it normalizes it, and
yes,
that's powerful. Rather than being like, look what we did, look at this, or
which is
let's have a
Star
whole
Trek.
scene explaining it in minute detail that this person's black, and you're like.
But
What do
we
you what no as a bad example,
but
but
we had this little scene in the original series with Uhura when Abe Lincoln is on the bridge and he says, oh sorry, I didn't realize, and he says a word, and she just comes back with, well, that doesn't offend me. It's your attitudes are now ancient because everyone is accepted no matter race, age, color, sexuality, gender, or anything. It doesn't matter. And this for me, Strange New Worlds is Star Trek at its best, where it recognizes but does not put it in the spotlight, where it's like, yes, we, like the original series, we have a Russian, we have a black person in communications, we have an alien, we have this, we just get on with it. And it's like Strange New Worlds carries that on, but it does it to reflect modern times, and it just gets on with it, because at the end of the day, that is not the be all and end all of the story. It is the
or of the
characters.
characters. It's the fact of like we could happily have it where Una just like turns out to have a girlfriend or something
Yes.
like in the later on, and you're not going to bat an eyelid because it's the character we care about,
Yes.
not the attributes of them, and that's what makes you like a character, and that's what makes you like everything about them. Sorry, I've gone off on one
No,
there, but
no,
it's how.
absolutely. No, but
Okay, now we can start talking about the
yes.
episode.
Overall, me and Synoiz absolutely love Strange New Worlds, as you can see. So yes, so let's get into season 2, episode 1. Opens up stardate 2369.2. The crew is on shore leave on Starbase 1 again. Starbase 1, mild shelf of destitution.
Do you actually have it?
I have Starbase.
Starbase One.
Yeah, without the domes. This is the Discovery version where it didn't have.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
the
it looks
domes.
like sort of like Mordor. It looks like
Yes, the Eye of Sauron is
Sauron's
at the
power.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm wearing that on my t-shirt. Wait, look at it.
Oh, he's such a goth.
I'm so goth, me.
He's goth with 2 Fs. It's so the ship is going under upgrades and inspections. Pellier's team, who we haven't met yet, is doing inspections. Pike is talking to Una, who is detained. And we also get that there's something alluding with the brass that we don't know. There's a bit of foreshadowing in this little scene here. But Pike is speaking to Una, sorry. Everyone is taking shore leave. He's going to take 3 days out to travel to the other side of the quadrant to basically defend it.
Let's point out what's happening here is basically Una, the number one officer.
Yes.
In season 1, it turns out that she's actually part of a genetically modified species.
She's an Illyrian.
And because of what happens in the original series and Wrath of Khan and whatnot, being genetically modified in the Federation is banned.
Yes.
So it's illegal for. So she went to Starfleet and suppressed and like basically hid who she was and lied on her application, saying that she's like a human when she's not.
Yeah.
And then she had to basically come out as that in season 1. And now Starfleet have caught up with her and basically gone, hey, yeah, you've done loads of good deeds, but you're still going to jail. So what Pike is doing is basically trying to get her some justice and find a good lawyer for her. And so he's
Yeah.
basically gone off on a little side mission to find the best lawyer that's going to cover her, but he needs to go directly. So he just fucks off for this episode.
This is the thing, though, with Una being, because there was always a mystery with number one, as she was called in the pilot, like who she was, and there was always an aura of mystery because it was that was Majel Beret, if anyone knows. That was Gene Roddenberry's wife who played number one.
Luxana Troy.
The L-Cars computer by many other things. Yes.
So, almost giving
so there was
almost giving a certain Jeffrey Combs a run for his money.
Yeah. So there was always a mystery of who is number one, what race is she, or anything good. But then in Discovery and in Short Treks and in season 1, there was always that mystery that further developed, and then we realised that she was an Illyrian. Now, Illyrians were only mentioned once before in a Star Trek Enterprise episode. They looked differently, but it was in, I believe it was season 3, where Archer had to basically steal from the Illyrians in order to continue his mission because the ship was badly damaged and they needed, I think it was a part for the warp engine.
I remember,
Yeah, so Archer made a decision to strand these Illyrians with only impulse power, where it would take him months to go home, in order for him to continue his mission to save Earth. That was the only time that we saw them. So when Una said that she was Illyrian, a lot of fans went, well, you don't look like one. But then people said, yes, but she's been genetically modified to not look like one. So she's easily able to pass genetic tests and stuff like that. So they found out, they caught up with her. Pike's girlfriend arrested her.
Is that, see, this is the problem with Anson Mount being a full-on daddy, is the fact that I couldn't tell whether that was meant to be Pike's girlfriend or his daughter, and I thought
girlfriend,
that it was his daughter until the last episode where she full-on kisses him on the lips, and I was like, this is awkward, you know. I was just, because she looks so young, this like actor.
Wow. But good skincare regime.
Yeah, no, but I genuinely, that's what I thought their relationship was, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind. But yeah, I think the thing about the Illyrians is we had was it the last episode of season 1 where it basically it's talking. No, it's not. It's earlier, but it's talking about the Illyrians where basically they were so desperate to join the Federation that a faction of them tried to undo their genetic modifications, so that they could go back to being normal, so that then they could get into Starfleet. And they ended up killing themselves because it just didn't work. And it kind of made an important message about how trying to change yourself is probably more damaging than just kind of being accepted for who you are. And obviously does a kind of, why is it still illegal to be genetically modified in the Federation? As Captain Quinn points out in the chat, you know, like Bashir in Deep Space Nine, where it's like, he's no threat at all, but they're so panicky because Khan was such a threat that, you know, it's the whole thing. It's, hey, Mark, you're a universe Synoiz, I know. I'm like proper goth and that.
The Adequate went through an ion storm and I couldn't be asked turning up the shields, so this is what happened. But go on.
I should have done the whole thing. Right, I'm just so boring and like I don't really make any jokes or anything.
He's a goth.
I'm like, oh my God.
Wouldn't Mirror Universe Synoiz have no mustache? No, this is a very unique Mirror Universe where every possible iteration of Synoiz has a mustache because that's the law of the universe.
I'm really annoyed though. You know the Voyager episode where it's kind of Mirror Universe, where it's like the bad story told like evil Janeway and stuff. I just want that to be a thing where we just
have you got leather gloves?
Everyone's in leather with leather gloves and stuff, and it's just like, oh, that's what makes me evil. Leather gloves.
If we fly through another iron storm, no, he's got one glove. Why has he got?
I've got two gloves because they're still lying on the floor from when I did the Invisible Man bit.
We are going full PVC, Synoiz.
Oh yes.
Oh, no, Daddy.
Oh, hi, Mark. You joined.
Why? You always tune in at the very most inopportune time. Hi.
I'm too sweaty to get leather gloves on.
I still like pie. Oh my! Oh wow! Now he looks like he's about to pull off the most gothiest heist you've ever seen.
Goth heist. There we go.
Evil Janeway is an oxymoron. Oh, controversial.
Whoa, just
Oh,
as good to mix.
saucy Cartier.
Oh, I
Anyway,
love it.
so Pike is going on for shore leave for 3 days, so he puts Spock in command, and immediately Spock becomes Anxiety the Vulcan.
I love this though, where basically like where Spock calls it, like Mark's like, oh, I'm just gonna leave you in charge, kind of thing, while you're in space, Doc. Nothing's gonna happen, and he's just like, you do realize you just jinxed that?
Yeah, famous last words.
Yeah, he's like famous last words, and then you're just like, we know what's gonna happen here, and as soon as Anson Mount is gone, we get what happens in this episode.
Well,
It's
yeah, because
brilliant.
because oh, where are we? So where are we? Yeah, so Pike goes on shore leave. Spock immediately goes to sickbay with anxiety, which is the most millennial Spock thing. Because I would do the same. I would be like, yeah, okay, someone give me some like bipolar medication right now to calm me down. So,
But like Dr. Mbenga points out the fact of going, yeah, you've never ever had to deal with stress before. Like,
Yeah.
you've kind of suppressed it all. So
have
it's
you
like,
tried the
yeah,
guitar?
now you're in charge of a ship.
Yeah. Have you tried the guitar? And he gives Spock the I can never remember what it is, but it's sort of like a harp. It's
String
like
thing.
yeah, it's a Vulcan string thing.
Yeah.
And Spock immediately knows how to play it, and I'm kind of devastated he didn't start playing Wonderwall, which everyone needs to learn to play on guitar.
And then Menga's just like teleport you into space.
Yeah, yeah. Please don't. But his heart rate goes down, but then his heart rate immediately goes up when the lovely Nurse Chapel enters the sick bay.
Can we
Now-
just talk about Nurse Chapel for a moment?
Can we
I
talk
was
how
very
beautiful she is as an actor?
yeah.
How absolutely amazing she is.
It's that thing. She is so incredibly beautiful, but she
Yes.
has so much character. Like it's this thing where you get someone who's beautiful, but then they're incredibly charismatic and just very good. Like what is it exactly? Seven of Nine as well. Like it's that
Yeah.
idea where you're just going, this is good casting. It's not like, oh, we'll hire someone just because they're pretty. It's like, I'm gonna have to take these gloves off. It's far too sweaty. I can't be evil. Can't be evil.
Jess Bush, from Australia's Next Top Model, I believe.
Oh yeah.
But
Is that who she is?
she is? Yeah, she is a former
amazing.
model. She is. I mean, all the way through season 1, she was a terrific actor, and
Yeah.
the tension between her and Spock.
I wasn't sure about it. It was that thing, when you just get little alarm bells in season 1. The first time she gets introduced, I'm like, oh, Nurse Chapel's a bit like, oh, they've made her a bit sort of sexy, and the outfit's a bit tight and stuff like that. But then when you actually know her a bit, you're just like, oh no, she's perfect. She's amazing. Like, it's that
Yeah.
thing where you just go, oh, she's not Totty. She's literally this wonderful fleshed out character. And
See you later, Mark. Sorry for spoiling
Mark.
episode 1 for you.
Oh, sorry.
We shall see you.
Get
next
it
week.
watched.
Yeah, get it watched. But yeah, you were saying something.
No, but it's all of the characters are like this. All of the characters are just like, I love you. I love this character, and
Yes.
Nurse Chapel's no exception. And like, we'll get to it, but this episode is literally just like any other series. This would be unbelievable what happens, but in this, you're like, nope, I'm fully here for it. Fuck it,
Yeah.
whatever.
Because his heart rate goes up as soon as she enters sickbay. He leaves, being the adolescent love, I've got the hang up for you type of person that he is at the moment. And then she says, oh, she wants to do a Vulcan apprenticeship, shall we say, or fellowship.
She's got the taste now.
She's got
She's got the taste for Vulcan.
She sniffs the green. So she's so she wants to go to Vulcan for a couple of months. So, but Umbenga's like, do you? Why? He knows. Umbenga's a wise doctor. I was always disappointed we didn't get much of Umbenga in the original series, and I know there was going to be a spin-off with him. Which would have been fantastic, but I'm so glad. Like, these minor characters are being fleshed out.
Yeah,
in
and
this
it's true, and it's kind of like respectful to what already is there. Like I don't think anyone who is a massive fan of the original series is going to be watching this and being like, oh, they've ruined Nurse Chapel, oh, they've ruined Umbenga kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like they can't be because they're so well done, you know?
Yeah. So back on the bridge, Ortega's being the wheelman that she is of the Enterprise, is getting stick for reversing the controls. Uhura immediately gets snippy with an engineer who wants to upgrade the comms. She's like, well, I'm going to do this because you never know. You never know if there's got to be an emergency. And then perfect storytelling, plot device timing. The little red light starts beeping. Goes to Spock's quarters and she goes, this is from Lan, from Kajitar, on the edge of Klingon space.
Wait, can we just, it's how perfectly framed this is, where it literally just goes, Spock is in sick bay for having anxiety because he's just been put in front of a starship. And the only reason he's coping is because it's like, oh, we're just in space, Doc, nothing bad's going to happen. And then the immediate next scene is Uhura being like, okay, so
all you needed was the wah wah wah.
It's funny. It's tongue in cheek, like the way that it does it. But the whole point is that basically Spock has to, what Uhura's saying is, hey, we've got a distress signal from Lan, the security officer, who basically at the end of the series 1, she went off with an orphan that they found. Yeah, she went off with an orphan they found to try and find this girl's parents. And she's found them, but then she suddenly sends a distress signal through. And that's what Uhura's picked up. So basically, Uhura's kind of like, hey, I know we're not supposed to do anything, but we need to go and save her.
Yeah, because after the opening credits, which are stunning, by the way, and Anson Mount doing the opening speech far better than I do, Spock starts to speak with Admiral April, wanting to get permission to go after La'an because she is in trouble. April absolutely refuses because Kajitar is a joint moon or outpost that produces dilithium for both the Klingon Empire and the Federation. They share this responsibility on a 30-day basis, and it's currently the Klingons' turn to mine the dilithium. So he basically says, Robert, I feel it's a bit cold from this character, but I can understand the reasoning that if any Federation ship enters this planet's space, it will trigger a war. You will be attacked. So La'an has to wait for 30 days until we regain control of the planet. Spock does the most Captain Kirk thing imaginable and just goes, well, I am going anyway, and I want everyone to get all of these inspectors and Pelia off the ship because we are going to steal the Enterprise.
Which is iconic. I mean, I think the reason Starfleet is worried is because there's like growing tensions in the universe, and they're like, let's not do anything to piss the Klingons off because we've pretty much just signed a peace treaty with them, and then we're going, now let's go and invade their space.
At the moment, at the moment, they're just reading our DMs. They are not acknowledging. But this is progress because we have been unblocked on WhatsApp. So now, we're seeing the blue tick and we don't want to jeopardize the blue tick, okay? So Spock devises a plan that they need to get the inspectors off. So we see one of the helmsmen going to engineering and triggering a fake coolant leak.
Yeah.
So
and then
Starbase One orders them to get the hell out of there. But then we get to see my new favourite character, Carol Kane, Pelia. Oh my! I want more of this character.
It's absolutely iconic.
She's
like it's
wonderful.
Just so basically the idea is they've set off this fake coolant leak, and then he, rather than evacuating, just appears on the bridge and starts being like, "What's this? What's going on?"
I'm just continuing my inspection because all this is bullshit.
Yeah, and then she's literally just like, oh, I just want to check some things because this looks exactly like what would happen if you tried to generate a fake coolant leak.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Because she's like, well, when we did the numbers and they were fine and in a coolant leak, they wouldn't be fine. But, oh, look, they're fine. And I'm like, I am so here for her just pulling up everyone on the bullshit.
Yeah, like
I
she
love
she
it.
does it. She literally just goes like, "Look, I teach about coolant leak. I teach about like warp core breaches at the university, so I know about this." And she points out that she can tell exactly what they're doing, but then spins it round and then just is like, "Oh, if you wanted to look convincing, vent the warp core plasma."
Yeah,
And then they do it, and then immediately Starfleet goes, "Oh fuck, it's serious.
but
Let the
she does
docking
this.
clamps go."
She does this because she goes, "Well, if you do that, I'm coming with you.
Yeah, she's just
I'm
like, and
joining you."
they're trying to get her to evacuate, and she's just like, "No,
Yeah,
I'll just stay.
yeah. You
I'll
need an
stay and come with you
engineer.
on this adventure."
Yeah, because we get a little subtle hint once the Enterprise gets away from Starbase One, we get subtle hints because she's like, "Oh, I haven't been out in the stars in my own engines in 100 years," and everyone's like, "100 years?" And Uhura goes, "Oh, that accent, you're a a Lanthanite," and she doesn't really allude to it at this point. But then so they all hightail out of it. Carol Kane
But it,
walks.
we have to talk
Oh
about
my god!
if you don't know who Carol Kane is, okay, and this is the best thing. If you've ever seen the movie Scrooged, she is the fairy in that. She is the ghost of Christmas Present.
And Princess
And
Bride as well.
oh yeah, Princess Bride and
Yeah.
the unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt
Yes.
as well. But it's this idea where she is genuinely insane. Like it's just, if you remember her from Scrooge, like the whole like, oh, what's this? It's a toaster.
Yeah. She is off her rocker, and she brings
and
that energy to this.
and it's weird to this because she's an engineer and nothing about it adds up. But then that just means that it totally adds up in a weird, how like salt and sweet and salty, it's like it just works. And in this, she's like I don't know, like a space witch, basically. She's just this crazy, very over the top, wild hair. Every sentence she says is slightly phrased differently, so she just sounds unhinged. It's brilliant.
This is Strange New Worlds trope. We've got Picard with Badmirals. We have got Strange New Worlds with batshit crazy engineers because Hemmer was nuts.
I will say my big criticism of season 1 is that I didn't like Hemmer's arc. I loved Hemmer, but he didn't get enough time.
Well,
it was this thing of going, because what happens with Hemmer, he's an engineer, and spoilers, he dies. He gives his life in order to save everyone. But it's the fact of, it didn't. Why did they get rid of him? Couldn't they have kept him for longer? Like,
can I give you a little bit of an insight?
Did he not like it or something? Was he pulling a Tasha Yar?
No. No. He's in season 2.
Oh, okay.
He is in season 2, so
that's okay.
They are,
because it just felt very much like you haven't started with this character and they're gone, but then it didn't really have the emotional impact because it hadn't. They did it very well, but it was this idea of just being like he has to come back. Like
the engineers. The engineers, I feel, this is this arc for the Enterprise's engineers is the road to Scotty. This is what this is. This is the road to Scotty. How did we get from Hemmer to Pelia to maybe another one and then Scotty?
Well, we got Scotty in season 1, didn't we? In the last
briefly
episode.
As a voice, yes.
Yeah, we got a voice that was blatantly Scotty, but you didn't get to see anyone. Yeah. And also, I just like to point out, like, I love in this, Strange New World has kind of normalized being fat in Trek. Like, it's the fact of it has characters that are just fat, and then you don't realize how rare that is in Trek. Trek has very much been a kind of, you're either a weird alien and you're overweight, or no, that's it. That's pretty much it. Or you're Scotty doing his cameo in TNG. Like there wasn't really any characters that where it was a thing that they were big. Whereas in Strange New Worlds, we see a lot more different body types. Yeah. Throughout, we have short people, we have tall people, we have large people, we have skinny people, and I kind of love that. And and obviously, like, I guess we'll get Scotty like that when he's in. I guess.
Well, I mean, they once you pass the physical, go straight to the replicator and get the donuts.
But that's it. You pass Starfleet University, and then you're like Rimmer when he gets Lister's body in Red Dwarf.
But I mean, all you have to do. as you get older, things slow down, and you know it's expected that you let yourself go a little bit because who cares?
Nothing would slow down if I was that close to Anson Mount. Oof.
Oh, daddy.
Daddy.
We're just going to replace all my "Would You So Daddy" all the way through this season. So
I like Captain Quinn does not appreciate the walking sex that is Pike in this.
Captain Quinn, come with me to the ready room.
Wait, no, that don't follow him. This is how it starts.
Captain, welcome to my ready room. Tea, Earl Grey? No, okay.
Oh, it's bleach.
When you have
bleach, lukewarm, and the replicator's like, what the fuck?
That's for Ensign Trump, who's in the brig. So, Anson Mount, in person, is the most gorgeous, handsome, beautiful man you will ever encounter. And I say this as a heterosexual male. I would do anything to that man.
He's got him on the turn.
He is wonderful. The very first, this was the second time I ever stood up and spoke to someone famous. It was Anson Mount. I said to everyone there, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And I was like, hi, Anson Mount. There was a photographic evidence of me shitting myself. And I asked about if he'd ever do a Star Trek Pike spin-off, and he said yes. And honestly, I never stopped creaming for weeks. Once you see him in person, you will understand.
Yeah.
Back to the show.
Yeah, there we go.
Back to the bridge. So, so we get the next scene, which is on Kajitar. Holy shit. The CGI for Strange New Worlds, if they do not get an Emmy next year for that, it will be a travesty, because the CGI is movie quality. That opening thing of Kajitar, the fly pass on Kajitar, is fucking beautiful. I thought briefly that it was Lord of the Rings or something, because it's
really good,
stunning, absolutely stunning. And we go to the Indiana Jones reference, that is La'an having a drinking contest with Klingons, as you do, gagging on the blood wine. Must have been a bad year. She wins, but
also, can we just point out how wonderful it is to see Klingons? Like
proper Klingons.
Yeah,
yes.
It's this thing where I'm just so happy that
I have that written down. Yeah.
I don't know, like it wouldn't matter to me if they were Discovery Klingons, but just seeing them this way, it just made me happy, because I was like, oh cool, it all fits, you know.
And they are made up so beautifully as well. Like they are, that is, it's 4K Klingons. It's how Worf was, but it's 4K Klingons.
That's amazing. Captain Quinn's met Patrick, I assume Stewart, in a bar. That's amazing.
In a bar.
That's the crazy thing. It's like in London, you get like a lot of theaters when Ian McKellen's playing. Like a lot of the gay bars have, like, obviously Soho has a lot of theaters there, and when he's playing at the theaters, you'll just go into the bars and you just be like, hang on, you know. It's just that weird thing where that's Ian McKellen having a pint. Okay.
For those new, I accidentally bumped into Sir Patrick Stewart at my first ever Star Trek convention, and security swooped. But he was polite. We apologised. He was fine. I was fine. He asked if I was fine. I was not fine. It started my long dark road of anxiety, because
Did you at least get a cavity search out of it?
So anyway, back on Kajitar. Oriana wins the drinking contest. They found my Latinum Synoiz. She wins the drinking contest, and she's trying to arrange a meeting with Cadot. We see Umenga makes eye contact with her. She meets the crew, and we get a lovely bit of backstory about Kajitar. How, you know, this, you know, it profited from both sides during the war. A new syndicate took over, which I personally found was a bit more. I thought this was alluding to the Ferengi briefly, because they said peace is not good for business, war is good for business. They are seeking profit. They are trying to well, there was a large explosion. A lot of ionized radiation got into the air. Half the town got sick. Ionizing radiation comes from photon torpedoes, not dilithium. And basically, they believe that there is a plan to start the war with the Klingons and the Federation again so that the Syndicate can profit from the dilithium on the planet. Which Umbenga says 100 million dead is not something that they want to experience again. Because again, with Chapel and Umbenga, they were not on the 5-year mission of the Enterprise when the Klingon War broke out. Because in Discovery, we find out that why we never saw the Enterprise all the way through season 1 of Discovery was Starfleet kept its best and it's not best. I think best and brightest is a bit of a derogative term.
The flagship, surely.
The flagship. It kept its best weapons away from the theatre of war. So it kept them as far away as possible because if anything did happen, they had the best and brightest, they had the best technology, the best ships away. So that things, so in the eventuality, they could come back or they could rebuild or anything like that. So Chapel and Umbenga weren't on the Enterprise, they were actually part of the war. So we get this first insight into Umbenga and Chapel's, I would say, sort of trauma, PTSD of the Klingon War, which they are not fans of wanting to revisit, which anyone who has been in armed conflict would understand. It's terrifying for me to even think of that.
It's great that these people have this backstory where it's this idea of these people aren't fresh from the academy. These people have been through some shit. It's like our Lord and Savior Miles O'Brien, where in DS9 it goes a lot into him, and his experiences in the Cardassian War.
Yeah.
This idea of going, the idea of where they are now is far more comfortable than where the situations they've been in and whatnot. And the idea that Umbenga can still be such a kind person and such a sort of benevolent person after all the shit he's seen is it kind of builds his character a bit. The same as Nurse Chapel, where it's the fact of these are very altruistic people.
Yes, they are very I think the word you're looking for from Umbenga is pacifist.
Yeah, well, we've had two pacifists. We had Hemmer, and we saw that today.
Spoilers.
I won't shoot the gun.
Yeah,
I'm all for pacifism, but there's a practicality to it where you're like, that's a monster.
But they offer their help to cure the sick on the planet, while Spock and Uhura go with La'an to this meeting to try and find out what is the goal of this syndicate. How are they endeavouring to start a war between the Federation and the Klingons? So
it would be nice. I did like the idea that maybe the Ferengi could be behind it at some level, but I think it's too soon to bring another race into it. It's just first, here's the Klingons, and then we'll find out later if the Ferengi were pulling the strings.
But another reason why I love the series, and I knew you would love it, is because it goes perfectly with your hope that all these existing species which we have can now be fully explored. And we are with the Klingons, the Gorn, the Vulcans, and all the smaller species, the Illyrians.
The best thing is the Romulans. The Romulans in the final episode of season 1, where we basically get a look into the future, because Anson Mount's background is that he knows when he's going to die, and he knows that it relates to an incoming war with the Romulans, which might kick off, because tensions are really high with them. And we get to see the Romulans during this time period, and they're so cool because the Romulans have never been a real threat in the show. They've been like an enemy that's appeared, but even in TNG, they weren't they're going to fucking kill us, because the Borg came along and went, hey, we're the big grand threat. And Romulans are just doing shifty stuff. And it was the same for our DS9. They weren't really in Voyager. And in Enterprise, we didn't even get to them because season 4, it just went, oh yeah, Romulans. But
they were building up from season 4 onwards, and I do think that there needs to be either a mini series or a feature length movie for streaming that goes into this War.
I'm loving Captain Quinn. Captain Quinn has met loads of famous people and also pointing out that pacifism doesn't work on Wednesdays, which is a lovely reference to
Beheadings are on
Picard
a
season
Wednesday.
3.
Yes, beheadings are on a Wednesday. But as Chapel and Umbenga are helping the people, a Klingon approaches from the Syndicate and kidnaps them, shall we say? The other two, Uhura and Spock, go with La'an to the meeting. Again, more Klingon. Uhura's trying to decipher what they're saying because it's a weird dialect that they are using. I love the fact that we have got dialects within Klingon as well. We need that. We need accents.
Is that an actual thing? Like in the language?
I believe so. I think there is an actual language, but I think there are certain dialects, but I don't think it's been fully fleshed out. La'an does a deal with the Klingons for phasers. A plan is happening tomorrow, and they want to know what it is. So they beam over back to the Enterprise, but the transporter chief can't find Chapel and Umbenga. Their signal was lost an hour ago. So while they beam back to the Enterprise, we see Chapel and Umbenga being escorted into a mine where we see a Federation ship. Now, with me being a bit of a ship purveyor, voyeur, aficionado...
Really? We've never even heard of the Wall of Bankruptcy.
Yeah. With me being an aficionado, shall we say, of starships, when I looked at that ship, I looked at it briefly and I thought, that's a Crossfield class. Like, just from the ship of it, and I thought, that looks like Discovery. Like, because Crossfield is the name of the class of ship from Discovery, and I was like, are they going to do it? And I thought, no. But they get onto the ship and they're in the sick bay and they're treating all these people with burns and stuff like that. And we get a lovely conversation between Umbenga and a Klingon because the Klingon wants to know, how do you know Klingon anatomy, physiology? Who did you treat? And the trauma is coming out thick and fast for Umbenga because he's reliving these times where he was at this planet and he was like, I treat Klingons at this planet. How you would never have survived, and so. And you can. What I love about the actor, the eyes, because he portrays a soldier who is internally reliving the trauma of the past of these battles. Because war is hell. No matter what century you are in, war will always be hell, and we must do everything not to go to war, shall we say.
Captain Gwyn's asking, what's the most ludicrous race that could have a Geordie accent?
Gary the Ferengi.
Can do tune like.
I'm gonna do tuna, get me Latinum.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to Mega.
Get me gal press Latinum like.
Right. For the non-northern nerds, allow me to elaborate. Geordie is an accent where we live, which is primarily spoken in the land of Newcastle upon Tyne and the surrounding area. You have Sunderland.
I love how you've gone posher for this.
Thank you.
Newcastle upon Tyne and the surrounding area.
The Sunderland accent is called Mackham. The Borough accent is called Trainwreck. The Newcastle accent, if you've ever watched Castle or the Geordie episode of Castle, disregard that. Geordie is like...
Wow, that was bad.
Yeah, it's like, Yari, my name's Michael. I'm from Baker.
Baker. He can't see, man.
You cannot do it, man. So I am awaiting. If there's any Star Trek producers, we are more than willing to donate a few Geordies to the production. We
are never getting hired.
I'm gonna get the Mecca on me Ferengi shuttle. On the metro, and I'm gonna play some Dabo.
Yeah, gonna play some Dabo at Quark.
At Quarks. Quark.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Ron?
Got 20 pen for the mate.
Where's 1 litre? Anyway.
Okay, we need to get
this
episode.
Goddamn tangents.
I'm sorry, everyone in chat.
Chapel confirms that the ionizing radiation is coming from photon torpedoes, which are on. It's not funny, Synoiz.
I can't stop laughing. I'm sorry.
Walk. Paul, Photoshop a Ferengi in a Newcastle football kit, please. So,
is that Gary the Ferengi?
Yeah.
Are we saying that Gary the Ferengi is
He played
part of the Toon Army?
He was a striker in the mid-2000s.
Striker.
Yeah, striker. He taught Shearer. So
wow.
So they confirmed
what
that.
What is our lives?
What is this? Yeah, they confirmed that there are photon torpedoes. I nearly said photon.
Photon torpedoes. Like,
can you imagine the subtitles for this episode? So
it's just going to be like northern gibberish,
just question marks
in italics.
Yeah, I accept stickers.
Inane rambling.
So yeah, so they need to find out where these torpedoes are, and then they come to the realization that the reason that they are building this Federation ship is this is a planet in the middle of a territorial dispute. If they launch this ship that attacks Klingons, it is all-out war. So their mission now is to stop this ship by all means necessary. Then what we
find... It's
a
pretty good plan.
It's like a bloody good plan.
They're trying to
it's a false flag.
But then again, though, they kind of, when they see this ship, they're like, how did they get the ship in here? And they're like, no, I think they built it in here. And you're like, that's one hell of a,
But
like
that makes sense. That makes sense later on.
Let's make a whole fucking ship in a cave for this false flag operation.
That makes sense later on. I'm going to get to my Trek tech later on. So bear with me.
Get your Trek tech out, like, for the lads.
I'm going to do another segue, which is Goodwill's Trek tech. So, anyway, the following scenes I have dubbed in my notes Kingsman Freebird Church, because Umenga brings out the green Monster Energy supplement for the hypo spray. Chapel
That's
goes,
what I'm missing is Gough Synoiz. I'm missing a can of Monster.
Oh, you are. I don't even drink the stuff anymore. Monster, sponsor us.
I actually had a can of Monster. I've never really had it before, but I had it when I was streaming a couple of weeks back, and I was like, this is quite nice, and it kept me awake for the whole thing. I thought it would like make me buzz off my tits, but
remember,
actually
guys,
it was like
yeah,
comfortable, But I guess that's why people drink it all the time.
Remember, guys, it's hot out there. Keep your goths hydrated. Put a bowl of Monster out in the backyard. So,
but I love this though, where it's the fact of they know that they can't just walk up to where they need to, because basically their plot is that they're going to change. They're going to send a signal out that basically changes the is it the transponder codes for the ship. That basically
to
so
signal
anyone
that,
actually
so to say
anyone scanning it will go like, oh, this isn't a real ship. And so Enterprise can basically get a message across, but otherwise everyone would go, oh, it's a real ship because it's got real codes and stuff.
Yes.
But they kind of know that they can't get there on a ship full of Klingon warriors, normally. And therefore they do something that I think is class because, they're not fighters. No, per se, like they're medical people, and we see in season 1 that like Nurse Chapel isn't particularly good with sort of combat, but basically being science officers, they just go like, hey, we've got this like drug that
Monster
will make
energy.
us into this actual drug that will make us into actual psychopathic killing machines for a period of time. Okay, so it's effectively like, in the 80s in like RoboCop and stuff, where in the 80s everyone was scared about what was the drug? What was it? It was the thing that everyone, he's on MSG, not MSG,
LSD.
It's not LSD. It's this.
But I went back to Surge. I don't know why. Sorry, but go on.
But every sort of film in the 80s basically had it where, he's on this drug, and that's why he didn't feel his head getting chopped off. And you're like, what? I don't think it's that powerful.
Yeah.
But this is effectively like that, where basically they take this drug and then they just go, yep, I'm hooked up. I'm sugared up, and I'm.
But how unbelievable are the following scenes from this? The fight scenes, they are excellently choreographed, lit, directed, filmed. Oh, absolutely, because they seriously kick some ass all the way through this.
Literally, Nurse Chapel running, like going through a Klingon, through a starship, punching Klingons in the face, getting punched herself, and then just giving it back. And it's I think in any other show it would be ludicrous. But it's the fact of with this, I'm like, no, it kind of makes sense
There
because
is,
I
yeah,
think the fact is it would have been better if there was a blatant come down afterwards. So if they
yeah.
kind of done this and then they're literally just shattered afterwards.
PCP.
PCB, that was it.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Adam.
every
Our,
film
our
basically
resident
went,
narcotics expert, Adam.
oh, he's managed to punch a wall in half. Oh, he must be on PCP. And you're like,
Yes.
I don't know if it works that way, but
Yeah.
okay.
Christopher said Panzer chocolate. Yes, Panzer chocolate. Yes. So, but
Definitely not fucking Hershey's.
ooh, they corner a Klingon. Umbenga extracts information because they want to know how many, what are they at, what's their armament. He kicked the absolute shite out of him. We realise there's 30. They're fully armed. Knocks him the fuck out when he wouldn't give any more information. And then they hear that the engines are starting to warm up. They are able to send a distress signal to Enterprise because they're redoing it. As Umbenga's doing that, again, Freebird Part 2 kicks in with Chapel. But you see that it's starting to wear off because there are subtle hints. Her hits are a little bit more delayed. She's getting... she's absorbing the punches a little bit less. She's starting to... But I mean, both of them are an absolute badass because Umbenga, he does that and he just snaps and just continues to kick ass until they get to the airlock, where we see that this ship is starting to take off. So they are well and truly now cornered with nowhere else.
Because their whole plan was to get out of the airlock, and then they're like, "Oh, it's probably not a good idea." Whilst the ship is starting to fly.
Yes, back in orbit, the D7 warps. I love the old, like, this nice design of the D7. It's very the original series, but it's got that, like Enterprise. It's got nice modern retro-ish. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful D7. On my shelf, of course it is. I have no money, guys. Please send money. But we see
£5 a month. You can help maintain Goodwill's starship
for just
addiction.
For just £69 a month, you could allow me to be fully furnished in all the starships of all the franchises. Back on the Enterprise, they detect that the D7 is there. They're hiding in rocks. They then detect a ship blasting off, and the helmsman says this is a Crossfield class, and I was like, it doesn't look like one. But in the earlier scene where they said how did they get a ship in the mine, and Umbenga goes they built it, when you look at it, it is literally the saucer from Discovery and then other parts from other ships that they've kit bashed onto it. So I'm like, yeah, so Enterprise would recognise that as a Crossfield class because the transponder would say, oh, I'm this old ship that's now in half. But then, yeah, so I thought that was a really nice touch to Discovery to be like, hey, they've sort of salvaged these destroyed ships, amalgamated them into this thing, and this is what they are going to use for the false flag. Because it doesn't have a name or anything like that, it just says Crossfield class. They then pick up the signal from Umbenga and Chapel where they use a Morse code. And I love the fact that even in the 23rd century, Morse code is still understood by people in communications. This like defunct 300-year-old language, and Uhura's like, oh, it's Morse 2.
Well, I don't know, though, because it's the fact of it's like binary. It's the fact of, I think, in any field, any communications, it would go back to Morse code because it's the most basic code you can have. It's literally, it's basically binary, like, for communications.
Yeah.
And, so it kind of makes sense. It's like, with mathematics, you just be like, oh my God, they've still got subtraction in the future. And it's like, yes, they do. Or they've still got algebra, even though there's so much more to it,
Yeah, so it's... I like that, though. I do like that they used the Morse 2. They go back to Chapel and Umbenga. The Klingons are trying to cut through the airlock. They try and find EV suits.
Can we just point out how fucked Chapel looks at this point.
Oh, I mean,
Like
she's been
Umbenga's
through the
fairly
ringer.
fine, but Nurse Chapel is like blood streaming down her face. She's been punched a lot, and she's like hooked up on drugs, and you're just kind of going like, that was a risky maneuver that you did there, but I quite like it. I quite like this. Just
But
going,
it's a
okay,
good,
this is
it's a good tension building to and from between Chapel and Umbenga in the Enterprise. Spock surmises what they are trying to do, that it is a false flag operation. They are going to use this ship to attack the Klingons and then start a war in order to, supply and demand, basically. More to and from, we go back to the ship. There's no EV suits. There's a helmet with a transponder, and then there was like a thruster pack. That's all they've got. The Enterprise then goes after this crossfield but doesn't fire, and then we get this lovely, again, beautiful CGI where the Enterprise does a goddamn barrel roll in space, and it's something that you never saw. Yeah, but you never saw in the original series because obviously effects and live action, you would never do that. But they're like, we can afford to do this.
If they'd done it in the original series, you would see the man's hands holding the ship, but just moving, doing a barrel roll with it, but blatantly see
you would
the
see
guy
a
standing
pencil
there.
fall out somewhere and stuff like that. Yeah, so
that'd be quite good actually, doing special effects that crap. He just you can see the guy holding the ship, and it's like as he's turning it.
what do you want about? This is what we are going to do for our opening.
I would
in my
actually love
hand.
that if we made it as crap as possible.
I'm going to get a green glove, one of my ships, and just do that.
So you can see like your fingers over it.
Yeah, just the
Yes,
index,
this is what we're doing.
in the middle finger, just like that, and then a thumb, and that's all you see flying over.
And then halfway through, I walk into the room and I'm just like, "What are you doing? What's this? I'm filming the intro, man." That's what it needs to be. It needs to be sort of like green screen. I just come in, knock the green screen so it all messes up.
All whilst Adam's beautiful cover of Star Trek Voyager plays in the background. It is
Turn this shit off. That's what it should be. Can he see, man?
oh my god. Singing on Voyager. Star Trek Voyager is
It's really good.
oh my god, the heat's getting to us. This is a really serious scene as well.
Yeah, it's a serious scene.
Be it. So
Let's have some professionalism, Goodwill. Christ.
adequate. So the decision for Umbenga and Chapel is jump out the airlock. And Chapel goes, we'll freeze in a minute. And he's like, oh, it'll be fine. We'll be unconscious within 15 seconds.
No, he says it in a he doesn't say like, oh, it'll be fine. Like he's not being blasé. He's very much kind of going, no, we won't die immediately, and it's just like, okay, so I guess we've got a chance, but
yeah. So the Enterprise is still running. They need a decision. A decision needs to be made by Spock. Camera is drawing ever closer to that beautiful face of Ethan Peck. The decision is made to destroy the ship. Spock says fire. They leg it out of the airlock. The ship gets destroyed. Lovely tension scene. No music. Just the, up until fire, eyes closed, and then the music plays as they leave the airlock. They do see the ship getting destroyed. They find Umbenga and Chapel, beam them on board. God bless Spock, legging it down to the transporter room and doing CPR on Chapel. I know it was never played out in the original series, or it was alluded to in a minor way, but I love that you can see he's a Vulcan that's not a Vulcan, and you can see the love that he has for Chapel in this. And I love Chapel's company. Like, oh, why are you going to be so hard?
No, why are you going to be so rough?
Oh, is it rough? Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
I've said that a lot, but it's not to Nurse Chapel though. But it's the I love also that Mbenga's just like, well, fuck me then. He just like runs over, make sure Nurse Chapel's okay, and Mbenga's like, just dying here. That's fine.
My lungs have ruptured, but okay.
My voice has got worse somehow.
Yeah,
my voice has got even worse.
Ooh, shot across
even
the bow.
Huskier.
Mirror Universe Synoiz is very saucy.
I'm a bitch. I'm a bad bitch, and I don't care.
Someone's a bitch, and it's not Captain Goodwill.
Oh.
But then Spock has to go back to the bridge because the Klingons are hailing, and we get this lovely little standoff between the Klingon captain and Spock. And he's like, "What is going on here? Why have you destroyed this ship? What are you trying to hide?" And Spock clearly says, like, "Trust me, mate, we'd have blew you to pieces before you even had a chance to breathe." And then they have this lovely thing, and then Spock just goes, "Should we have a bevy? Should we just sort this out over a pint?
Well,
Should we go to the spoons?"
I think that's brilliant, though. It's the fact of like the Klingon warship is like, what the hell's going on? And they tackle it exactly like a Klingon would, where they're like, you destroyed the ship because you didn't want the embarrassment of seeing it lose against us. And you're like, that makes no sense, but Klingons, because that's their kind of logic.
Hashtag but Klingons.
Yeah, and then like Spock diffuses it by basically just being like, no, explains it perfectly logically.
Yes.
And then and then basically, if he hasn't had enough stress today, he now has to be like, oh yes, I can have a drinking game with Klingons. That's not going to be even more stressful.
They beam down to ye olde space spoons on Kajitar.
Space spoons, but thankfully space Tories don't exist, so it means you can go there.
Yes, spories, as we'll call them, because they are just fungus. So the easy Synoiz. There we go.
Hashtag fuck the Tories.
Hashtag
okay.
Yes. Hashtag fuck the Tories. But they do resolve it over a bevy, which I thought was quite nice. I think, if it was if this was a mid-season episode or a fluff episode, it should have been called Spock's Day.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, to paraphrase Data's Day.
Well, I think this is the thing. Like it's so perfect that this is doing the same as like TNG did with the Klingons. It's the Star Trek tradition where when you have the alien member of the crew, they have to be a kind of comedy element by pointing out how much a fish out of water they are.
Yes.
Like they did it with Worf in TNG. They did it very
I am not a merry
Odo
man
in DS9. Neelix, who cares? But like, and it's just wonderful that like Spock is like a comedy character in this because he's so uncomfortable at times, and you can see. And they had the wonderful episode, I think, what was it? Spock Amok was the episode in season 1 where he swaps bodies with his wife to be T'Pring, and it's the humor of the element.
Yes, Spock Amok. Yes, sorry, I thought you meant the original series. I was like, what?
Oh no, season 1 of Discovery of Strange New
World. That was so funny, that one as well.
But it's the fact of it's so funny because the characters are not the people who are used to this, and obviously T'Pring's going, yes, let's hope there's no more of your, how do you say, hijinks, and then like all of this shit starts, and she's just like, this is getting dangerously close to hijinks.
the jinx is getting to a level which could be considered by some as high. I love that.
And then in this one, like the fact of just how much he has to go through, and you feel sorry for him being this logical person, just being like, everything is falling apart. Deal with it.
But the lovely conversation he has with Pelia about being a Lantanite, he's like, I've always been fascinated by how the fact that you hid amongst humanity up until the 22nd century. And for me, I'm hoping, and I know it's a long shot, but hear me out on this. I'm hoping, because we've got Pelia, and because she's been in Starfleet, we are going to get some serious Enterprise, if not Archer references. Because I lay you a bet now, Pelia and Archer, I'm telling you, I'm calling it now.
Are you saying they fucked?
This is my prediction. We did this for season 3 for Picard.
Okay.
This is my prediction, right? So
we were wrong with everything in season 3.
No, we were. Keiko's still evil. What was my prediction for season 3 of Picard? It was
we were saying it was the Borg.
The Prophets. The Prophets.
And the Prophet.
The Parwraiths. The Parwraiths.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get a lovely Enterprise callback. I think we're going to see. We're getting Lodex, which we know, but I think with Pelia, because she's been around, she would have been around in 2151 and all the way through that.
Yeah.
We are going to get some sort of Enterprise reference, if not Captain, Admiral, President Archer references, which I would die for. I
Yeah.
really would. But we do
But
get
that's
the
it. Like they mention on the Shuttle Pod podcast, like it's the idea of it was sucky. Like I didn't, I'm the minority. I didn't particularly like seasons 3 and 4 of Enterprise, but it's the fact of I would have loved it to go for 7 seasons because the
yes,
cast was brilliant. It could have done it, and it does feel like they were totally robbed, like
yes,
not getting a full sort of show out of it. And it would have
yes.
been great seeing all of the stuff like the beginning of the wouldn't it end? It would have the Romulan War as a massive plot, and then it would probably end with the Klingon War, right?
No, the what
I don't know the timeline.
so the Goodwill's Trek Ready Room. So
Goodwill's Trek Ready Room
hi gang,
and shit.
come over to the Ready Room. I have fish. The timeline for the Romulan War was it was a few years, the Romulan War. The formation of an alliance was alluded to and started in season 4 of Enterprise. It wasn't called the Federation or anything, it was just called an alliance, and it was Tellarites, Vulcans, and everything like that. They then had the Romulan War, which was primarily between Starfleet and the Romulans. However, beta canon suggests that the other races chipped in because basically it was if we fall, you're next. That was the general mentality that the humans said to everyone else. Like, do you really think they are going to stop with us? As we have seen throughout our own history, they don't stop at one country. So the war ended. It then led to a strengthening of the alliance, which eventually formed the United Federation of Planets in 2161. The Klingon War was 90 odd years later in 2256, 10 years before the original series. So there was that gap there. But for Pelia, because she's lived, as she says, she's lived forever, there's nothing to say that she wasn't part of Starfleet, that she wasn't part of that war, and that she didn't meet these people. Because obviously, if you're in Starfleet and you are teaching people about warp theorem and all this, you've been around a while. You've been around, and she even said, I have not left Starfleet Academy. Excuse me, I have not left Starfleet Academy for 100 years. So she was there when Starfleet, like when the Federation started, and that's when she started teaching people. So I hope for that. But
I think it's definitely that. I mean, because what we have in this scene is obviously Spock is drinking and then basically looks over and who's standing at the bar but Pelia, basically enjoying a good drink, and then he's basically just going, talking about her getting back to like the university and whatnot, like the academy, and then she's just like, no, it's like, and she basically says a very valid question, like all this stuff, like, loads of people where they talk about like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing to be a vampire? Wouldn't it be amazing to like live forever and stuff? And then you realize just how well she basically points out, do you know what the worst thing about living forever is? Boredom. Like,
but
and
goes
she's
into
been
this
teaching at the
speech.
university for 100 years.
Yeah.
She goes into a massive speech about like how it's not losing your loved ones, it's not watching other people age, it's just being bored.
And I look, that's a testament to Carol Kane's acting, where she leads into this what you think is going to be a really emotional speech, like Spock says about loved ones and stuff like that. She's like,
yeah,
I'm bored, and you're like, but then you sit back and you go, yeah, like if I was figuratively, say if she's a few thousand years old, yeah,
this is the thing. It's the idea of in to bring Warhammer into it. It has like vampires in that, and it has a bloodline of vampires called the Necroarchs, where they're basically like evil researchers. So they're basically doing all this crazy sort of like creating Frankenstein monsters and using like dark magics and stuff. But like the whole thing is because they live forever, they don't get much done, and they kind of marvel at how they don't get as much done as the human people who only live for like 100 years. But then they're like, Oh, it's probably because time means nothing to us, so we piss around a lot. So it's this idea of going, oh yeah, I've been doing these experiments for 500 years. Okay, right.
I
And it's the reality of, and I quite like that Star Trek doesn't go into that much. I mean, because you've got like people like Guinan and Aurorians. That's the race.
Elorians.
Elorians.
Yes.
Elorian, like Guinan's race, where they keep themselves entertained at least, but it does kind of go, oh, you must get really bored. Like, and I like the fact it's got this, every Trek show needs a mysterious race in it, and this is what they've introduced here, where they've just
This
gone, hey, we don't know anything about her race, we can flesh it out a bit.
this for me, I got strong Asari references from Mass Effect where they've been, they can live to be 1,000 years old, and then they're like, oh, I'm only 43, I'm still partying, I'm still going through my phase of sleeping around, and you're like, oh, but then they said the same thing, that you humans live such a short life, you cram as much in as possible, where we take our time, so our partying takes 100 years. And it's like, shit. And I love this with
It's like an Enterprise where T'Pol's like, oh, I'm just a child, and it turns out that she's like 140, and it's like, okay.
She's like 62 in Enterprise, because even like,
is she?
Yeah, because like Trip goes like, how old are you? And she's like, never ask a Vulcan her age. And he's like, yeah, but she's 60. And you're like, yeah, and it makes sense that obviously she would have had an entire life before she joined Enterprise. And I'm like, oh shit. But with Pelia, so she's bored, and she's like, your ship is fun. Your ship is fun, and I'm gonna stick around. And she doesn't ask. She's just like, I'm going to stick around. You don't have a choice. I'm off for another pint.
I love this. But my prediction, you're making a prediction about Pelia and Archer. My prediction is that we're not going to get Pelia the whole season. I feel like she's going to be a 3-episode arc character, and then they drop her off, or some that thing like with Mbenga's daughter, where it was the idea of that was like a little sort of 4-episode arc, and now they're out of it, which I was disappointed by. Like, I will say my biggest disappointment from season 1 of Discovery is it closed too many storylines too soon. Like we say with Hema, with Mbenga's daughter, with like Lana's background. But I kind of felt like it didn't know that it was going to get a second season. I think it very much felt like, we don't know how this will land, so let's just make sure we tie things up. But it feels a shame, because I when it first got announced and we first found that Mbenga had like sort of smuggled his daughter on board the ship, I was thinking that it was going to be a hidden character that they would save up for like season 3 or something, so that we never get to actually see them, but they're like talked about like Niles' wife on Frasier or something, where we never get to see her. And then it just means that when a series goes on a bit and you need to introduce a new character, we're like, hey, we can always bring in Mbenga's daughter. So it just burnt out a bit too quickly, and I was disappointed.
I think so season 1 was shot in 2021. It wasn't greenlit until before it aired in 22. The showrunners have said 10 episodes is not enough. However, they understand why it is 10 episodes, budget, time constraints, everything. The only problem we are going to have, and we'll get back to the end of the episode shortly, the only problem we are going to have is with season 3, there is a writer's strike. So season 3 next year will be delayed. So I personally, I feel Strange New Worlds has got a shelf life. And it's got a shelf life because we all know what's going to happen to Captain Pike at a certain point.
We don't know when, though.
We do. We do.
No, but I mean, like, we don't know how many seasons you could fit in before that happens.
We do.
Do we?
Yeah. So, season 1 of the original series, that's when he has the accident.
Yeah.
That's when he gets, hideously deformed and put into the wheelchair. That was 2266. We have got, if they go and I doubt they will, but if they ever did go right up, that's, I mean, 7, 8 seasons that they could do for that.
Yeah.
They could do a traditional 7.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like the idea of you could do the full thing, and yes, we know that that Pike is going to die at the end, but it's the idea of going, yeah, it doesn't need to go like, oh, we can only do 3 seasons out of this.
Yeah,
You know, you could have like, but hopefully they're gonna get the full seasons, and they're not gonna have to jump to it like we had at Enterprise, where they literally got. They were like, "What? We have to round it up. We were not even planning to round it up."
this is what they're doing with Discovery. This is what they are doing with Discovery. So they had already.
At least they get a full season for Discovery.
Well, no. They'd finished. They had finished the last season of Discovery, as it's now called. The call was made that it will not be renewed. That is it. So what they are doing now is going back and recording extra episodes to wrap it up within this season. That's what. So this is season 5. So they thought, as everyone did, quite, to be fair with Discovery, it'll be season 5, season 6, and then maybe season 7, blah 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 blah. But then Paramount made the decision, nope, it's going to end with season 5. So they've sort of reallocated the funds to say to them, well, we didn't end it as a series finale, we just ended it as a season finale. Can we go back and wrap it up? And I don't know if it's going to be a feature length, if it's going to be 2 or 3 episodes. It's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with it. But again, there is a writer's strike. So everything was set in stone before the strike. So they're like, yep, Discovery is going to be beginning of 2024. We're going to do this. But the reason why we've delayed it, because it was going to be, Discovery was going to be after Lower Decks. They've postponed it from 23 to 24, but now the writer's strike's kicking in. So it's like, well, there's going to be a void. There is going to be a massive void at the beginning of 2024 if there's nothing in place of these live action shows, because the writers quite rightly are striking for fair pay and recognition.
And if they're pissed off that there's going to be a gap in the market, you know how you resolve that? You pay your writers properly.
Exactly.
What a crazy, you want the trains to run, you pay the workers. It's not.
Oh, these people,
rocket science.
These people want roofs over their heads and food, and they want paying. How dare they?
But where will the money come from? Well, those massive profits you made. Yeah, out of them. Oh, but they're untouchable. No, that's not how money works.
In the age of streaming,
not how economy works. Anyway,
in the age of streaming as well, the landscape has changed. Pay your fucking writers.
Captain Quinn's pointed out a very good point where they could remake the Menagerie episode, the pilot of the original series with Pike, and then was it the Menagerie?
It was the pilot episode was called The Cage. The
Cage, yeah.
The two-parter in the original, the two-parter in the original series was the Menagerie, which showed clips of The Cage. The pilot for The Cage was not shown until the 80s and 90s.
That's the weird thing, because obviously when I watched the original series, like before we started doing this, it's just there as the first episode.
Yes.
It's not called the pilot. It's literally you just watch it on Netflix and it goes, this is episode 1, and then episode 2 just goes, oh, and Kirk's here now, and you're like, what? Okay.
They were aired way out of sequence as well. So what they've done is because you'll notice, like when the Kirk episodes, the first couple of Kirk episodes, the uniforms changed drastically because they were
see you later, Beth. Have a great night.
See you later, Beth. So they were like, oh well, episode 2 is actually going to be episode 4, and episode 4 is going to be episode 1, and it was all over the shop with it. But if they reshoot technically the Cage has already happened at this time, because it was alluded in season 2 of Discovery, because we do go back to Telosian 4 or something like that. I'm pretty sure it's the Telosians. Telosians.
Because you're worth it.
But we know there is an end game, and again, guys, we'll promise we'll get back to this, but we need to. There is an end game for Strange New Worlds. We all know that, and I think there is. Unlike other Star Trek series, there is an innate satisfaction to know we know what is going to happen, but we want to enjoy the journey getting there.
Yeah.
Which, it's sort of like there is no anxiety in like, oh, well, what if this happens? What if they do that? And it's like, well, no, because we know what happens to Pike. And there is some sort of like satisfaction in that. Like we know the end game, but we want to explore his character.
This is the first time we've had something like that, I feel, because it's like we don't know in Deep Space Nine that Sisko is we do know from the first episode that he's the emissary, but we don't actually realize the full prophecy that comes to pass over the seven seasons, and the writers blatantly didn't either. Yes. But with this, it's kind of weird being like, we knew that like Janeway would get home in Voyager, but that wasn't specifically her thing, getting home. It was all of them.
Yeah.
But then in this one, it's like weird that he has this overarching plot that we know exactly how it ends. It's just the journey that's important, and I kind of love that because and it's
very refreshing to see a character that knows his fate from the get-go. And how that develops him as a person and as a captain. So I like I said, I absolutely love it. But getting back to this episode, Admiral April is giving Spock a good old dress down for nicking the Enterprise. Spock is hung over, and April just goes, well, that can be your punishment for nicking the flagship of the Federation. You can suffer with a hangover. And I thought, okay, this is original series. He goes to see Chapel, though, in sickbay.
Yeah.
He does go to see Chapel, and as he's playing music, we go back to the Admiralty. The foreshadowing comes full circle, and they go, well, you were a bit light on him. And he was like, yes, but we can't fight a war on two fronts, can we? And the reveal goes onto the Master Systems display, and we see a red blip, and oh my god, it's the Keiko O'Brien. Finally, Keiko
she has
O'Brien.
Materialized. She has destroyer of worlds.
She has materialized. She has travelled back in time to
Miles?
She has travelled back in time with Miles in tow with a collar to take down the Federation.
Hold on, are we suggesting that she won the battle? That she's won the eternal struggle?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's Keiko. Yeah. It's Keiko. Molly the Destroyer is off in some other
Molly
plane.
the Destroyer, that's it. The Beast.
But no, it's the Gorn. So we get an inkling that the overarching...
So, Christopher in the chat's like, stealing a flagship?
That's the paddling.
I love it. Adam Bailey's asked, are they going to remake the original series, do you think?
No.
I don't think they are. I think what they're going to do, they would never touch the original series, but I think what they're going to do is have a lot of Kirk in this later on.
Yes.
So I think they'll probably... I personally think they'll be like, hey, we're going to end it. So they could even continue this after Pike's death as a segue into Kirk. Basically end it where it's like, hey, here's how the crew gets to what they are in the original series. Like, this is, how... I've forgotten his name. The engineer. Scotty, yes. I was trying to think of his name, not his nickname, and I was like, no, it's just Scotty. But yeah, how Scotty becomes the engineer, and I think that would be a great ending to it, rather than just, because you could continue it, and at least it leaves their options open, where if they do go, oh shit, people are really loving this, and we've kind of rounded off the Pike thing. Oh yeah, let's just continue it into the first series.
Do you think the handover of the Enterprise will be one of the last things we see in Strange New Worlds?
I think it's what they've planned, but I think it will be up for discussion if Strange New Worlds continues being a phenomenon.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't think
if I was a producer, that's what I'd be like. Okay, cool. I know he said X amount of seasons. However, it's making money.
I don't think, and hear me out on this one, I don't think we're going to see Kirk a lot past this season. I think Kirk's here for a reason. I think he will then go off and do what he needs, because he served aboard other ships. We all know that before the Enterprise. I think we'll see him in season 2. That'll be it. I think they'll focus on something else, but I do think that this actor will make a return towards the end of the run of the show and be the Kirk that we know as captain and take over. Whether they continue and bleed it into the original series, I don't know. But my other theory is because the other slightly pointless argument is the design of the current Enterprise. But ships change. This is a 20-year-old ship at the moment. Designs change, things change. We saw it in the motion picture. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, stopping them from going, well, we're going to refit the ship and it's going to look like the original series at the end. It's already shown in Picard that is, it's the Prime universe, that's the design it goes into. So, because in season 1 of Picard you had this design of Enterprise, and then in season 3 you had like the original design.
Yeah.
So I think that when it gets to the Kirk era, you will have a handover, the ship looking like how it looked in the original series, and then some sort of goddamn riding off into the sunset playing the original series theme. And then they'll say, there you go, that's Pike's journey, that's Pike's chapter. Now if you are mad enough to watch 900, 1,000 plus episodes, this slots in perfectly to the original series and continues. That's how I think it's going to play out. But for the time being, I am just enjoying the hell out of Strange New Worlds. I did last year, and this again, it's a breath of... I loved Picard. Picard was dark, but it was bloody brilliant. But Strange New Worlds is the sunshine, optimism, breath of fresh air that Star Trek represents and what people hold dear.
Yeah. I think it's the fact of it deals with horrendous situations and they get into danger, but then the way that they react to it is very positive, and the way that they are as a crew is very together. It's not like gritty action sequence where everyone's just like, I don't trust you, we've got to work together, I've got secrets. It's it's not like that. It's basically a crew that literally like the jokes in this episode where basically we didn't talk about it, but basically when they joke where basically when Spock finally sits in the captain's chair and Ortega is just like going, you need to say your thing. And he's like, what? And he's just like, oh, well, when Pike tells us to move, he says like, hit it, and obviously we have this with captains where Picard was obviously engaged. Did Cisco have one? He's probably...
I think he just said engage.
Yeah, I can't remember what Cisco's one was, but then obviously they make a joke of it in season 3 of Picard about what is 7 of 9's one going to be, and then it cuts just before we hear it, and it's a thing for captains, and it kind of, I don't know, it plays with expectation. And then obviously what's the one he comes out with? He's like, I would like this ship to move now.
He says, I will tell you exactly what he says, because I've actually got it.
Brilliant.
So it builds up the tension.
Captain Quinn pointing out that Ortega was like, I'm workshopping Vamoose.
Vamoose. So Spock says, I would like the ship to go now. But then I sat there and the actor who plays Ortega's, she's a wonderful person. She put on Twitter, what would yours be? And I sat there and I was like, because I thought, hitch up your tits and pop the clutch. But then I thought, no, because that's going to wear thin. So I just thought, so I sat there and I was like, well, I'm a car guy, so drop a cog and let them see taillights. And I just thought, drop a cog.
They're a bit too long. My one would literally just be a goose noise.
Honk.
Yeah. Honk.
Oh my God.
That's it.
General Order 102, Section 4, we are relieving you of command.
How did you even get into command? And I'm like, ha! Mirror Universe Synoiz strikes again.
I'm an amalgamation of geese in a fleshy... Oh, fly.
In a fleshy suit.
In a fleshy suit. But
it should be like, get Gannon.
Oh, Captain Quinn. Captain Quinn has used, let's get the wellies on, Gan Canny Helm. Hoss on, Adam Bailey.
Son. Oh, Captain of the Patagonia.
Starfleet needs more Geordies. That's all I'm going to say.
I think I quite like the idea of Gary the Ferengi, but then someone's pointing out that he'd be Gaza the Ferengi.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it.
And he's just like
Gaza
Gaza.
the Ferengi. Photoshop him in a Newcastle shirt with a bucket of chicken and a fishing rod. Can
you imagine? Yeah, just him turning up in every awkward situation when there's a battle going on. He's like, I brought a fishing rod and some KFC.
Yeah.
It's like, it's too late, Gaza. He's already dead.
I'll have his latinum. But no, I mean, overall, love the episode. Great intro to season 2. What are you laughing at?
Set a course for Hiam.
Set a course for Hiam.
In the chat, phonetically spelled. Sorry, we've gone way overboard. Oh, God, can you imagine anyone who doesn't know about Geordie stuff listening to this just being like, I didn't understand any of that episode. It was all just inane rambling.
I will explain the finest intricacies of
You're not filling
design.
me with hope the fact you're struggling with the first bit.
I will...
Intricacies.
Take 2.
Yeah.
I will supply the most intricate details of Starfleet design. However, Geordie, you're on your own. And not the Geordie you're thinking of. Real Geordie. Because if we had a Geordie, that ship would have never left space dock.
I like the idea. It just cuts to like Hoshi being like, nope, nothing.
yeah. What's the universal translator saying? WTF.
It switched itself off.
Do what they do in Castle and get a translator. Where someone's just like, oh, oh, why I? Yeah, no.
Oh, way I, pet.
Oh, why I? Oh, I'm so charmingly befuddled.
God, that was awful. So the whole Castle thing was just, okay.
Can we just get one last shout out to the team behind Strange New Worlds for the touching message in tribute of Nichelle Nichols. Yeah. Hailing frequencies forever open. Oh, it got me that.
It's this thing of just like she was, it's that crazy thing. Like obviously, like Whoopi Goldberg, like just mentioning that she got into Trek because of Nichelle Nichols, because like it went, hey, a black person in this world, in this universe, in this like fantasy at the time, a black person can be this. And that's what you need. That's what you need representation. And that's what we were saying earlier. You don't need to be like, oh, look, they're gay and we're making a big deal out of them being gay. Just going, no, I just need to know that they're gay and I need to see them doing badass shit. And rather than their whole thing being like that. And it's Nichelle Nichols, man. Just
Star Trek.
And she could sing. I didn't realize until I watched the original show how many times they're like, oh, go on, Uhura, sing a song.
She was going to leave.
You're really good.
She was going to leave to pursue a musical career, and Martin Luther King Jr. Implored her to stay on because of the representation that she brought. But on a whole, Star Trek is full of role models for people. What are you laughing at?
No. I'm not looking at the chat anymore. The chat has been fire this whole time, but they're saying more Geordie things, and I want to read them all out.
We'll read them out. We'll read them out after we've got the serious part done. We'll read them out. But Star Trek has always been one for. As when I was young, obviously I was geeky looking. I had jam jar glasses. I had a moped. I was ginger. I had every nerdy poor gimmick that you could find. Star Trek.
The time before the tips.
The time before the tips. Yes.
Time before the tips.
1996 PT pre-tips. But it was all like I found role models within Star Trek, and a lot of people did find them as well. And it's lovely that they get the recognition, and it's lovely that the fans, like real life astronauts and stuff like that, are like, yes, because Nichelle Nichols, because of Geordie LaForge, because of Patrick Stewart, because of Jonathan Frakes. These people, I mean, for me, I wanted, like, my goal in life was to be on Star Trek or be part of Star Trek, because these people, like, inspired me, and like it just I just wanted to be part of that world. And I am technically, we are technically, because we are in this wonderful Trek family of podcasters and very famous
You get
people.
fucking Mark Cartier on the podcast, and now you're like, we're part of Trek.
I was actually going to say Sean as well.
Yeah, to be
because
fair.
Sean, hands down, Sean, if guys have never seen our interview with Sean Ferrick, go watch it. He has got the biggest I don't give a fuck attitude out there in Star Trek, and I love him for it, because he's like, yes, it is an LGBTQ company, not company, I can't get my words out. There are LGBTQ.
You're going with it. So
There
I'm
are-
like, trying
there
to help,
are-
and I'm like, nope, no idea.
There are LGBTQ people in the world. Get used to it. They are not going anywhere. They are not hurting you. They are not affecting you. Let people be who they want to be. And if anyone embodies the very philosophy and values that Star Trek represents, it's people like Sean. It's people like Mark. It's people like, God, Joe, you, me. It's we.
Anyone who's not a dick, basically.
Anyone who is
All
not a dick. And I will say this every week. If you are racist, a bigot, homophobic, anti-trans, and you are a Trekkie, check yourself into the nearest mental hospital immediately, because
You're
you
not allowed
are
to call
not...
them mental hospitals now. It's pronounced Peter Lee.
Check yourself in to Peter Lee immediately.
No, we can
Sorry.
Get back into accents.
Sorry. My friend Amber is from Peter Lee. I humbly apologise, and Donna is probably going to murder me after this podcast. Anyway, but check yourself in, because you are not right in the head. You don't deserve Star Trek. You don't deserve to watch it, and you don't deserve anything that Star Trek has given the world.
I think it's harsh to say they don't deserve it, because everyone should be open to, like, enjoy stuff. But I think it's the idea of there's so much more you could learn from Trek if you're not getting it yet. It's this idea of going, okay, you could enjoy this on so many more levels if you're not seeing the whole, hey, Ferengi are a criticism of capitalism. Hey, this is a representation of racism. Hey, this is a representation of sexuality and persecution. And the people who are watching that being like, no, don't get what that's a parable for at all. And you're just like, okay, you are missing out a lot on this story. I think it's a thing. If anything, sympathy over hatred. Like, I don't hate anyone. I don't go, hey, you bastard, with your like bigoted ways and stuff like that. I'm just like, what a shit life you must have, mate. It's literally.
Allow us to hold your head underneath the putrescent waters of knowledge.
The putrescent waters of knowledge. It tastes like gin. Lovely.
You need to learn from Star Trek, not watch Star Trek. Learn from Star Trek, because Star Trek symbolizes the very best that humanity can be and gives everyone hope.
And wind your cheds in.
That too. Guys, let's read, before we end this episode.
Oh, God. There's been so many of them. People, like, the Nerdy Up North has pointed out just how easy it is to distract me. And I really, but everyone, oh, God.
Captain Quinn. So Captain Quinn says, reset the hypo spanner and reverse the polarity.
Yeah, I mean, have you heard of these rules of acquisition, like?
Where's the other one? Oh, obviously Sarah Peaches. What? Try Peaches there.
Okay, oh, hey, man. Oh, no, I can't do it. Oh, hey, man, I didn't know why the warp drive is gone down.
It's gone down.
It's a bit Scottish. You do that one. You'll be better with that one.
Oh, hey, man, I didn't know why the warp drive's gone down. Have you tried Control Alt Delete? So, what was it, Captain Quinn? What? What was that one? What? What? Jardu the engineer. I can't. I'm having a stroke reading that.
Adam Bailey. How do we, man? The warp core is knackered. Didn't know what's going on. Like, I'll have to have a deeks. I can't pronounce this at all.
Break out the hands manual. Right. Oh, I love that. Should we show Star Trek to Tories? Yes. Pinning their eyes open with matchsticks, chained to a chair like Clockwork Orange.
I just love the fact that they'd probably watch it and they'd be like, "That Quark's got the right idea."
Yes,
You'd just be like, "Never mind, we wasted our time."
How could we privatise oxygen? But no. Have you? What was that? Have you tried using a warp core hammer? No, because health and safety would have a fit. Right. I think it's time.
Yeah, we should round this up.
I think round this up.
At a full 2 hours.
Are we?
So,
oh dear, guys!
Thank you so much, everyone who has tuned into this. And I can't believe we've got some mad bastards who have listened to us for 2 hours.
we love you all. We always do, guys. This has been. Should we go? It's Star Trekking up north. It's all the same thing.
I don't know. We've got stickers now, so it's whatever.
Yes, we've got stickers.
Stickers are the closest to like canon we have.
This has been whatever the fuck I want to call it. This has been Trekking up north. This has been our review of the first episode of Strange New Worlds. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined in on the live chat. Thank you to Christopher, Captain Quinn, Beth, Adam, Mark. Who am I missing? Lee. Lee's here somewhere. I've seen Lee. Joe, the wonderful Joe. Joe's been sending me messages. I'm kind of worried when Joe sends me messages because I'm probably doing something wrong.
Are they nudes?
Yes, I hope they are.
Good.
In just a uniform. Don't play this back, Joe. Thank you to my wonderful co-host Mirror Universe Synoiz, who we are going to be shoving through the transporter so we can recover Science Officer Synoiz.
They're called makeup wipes.
They are called. Shh, don't tell them how the sausage is made. Down in the links below, you will see everything you need to follow Nerdy Up North on all of our platforms. We have a fantastic Facebook community of over 8,000 followers. We've got a Facebook page. We have got a Twitch, which I play, Jake play, and Paul occasionally plays if he's not mad.
And I don't.
We have a. Well, I'll get to you in a minute. We have a Twitter, which me and Paul run. We also have a very swanky Discord that Lee, our wonderful top fan Lee, runs and organises. Bless him. How he is not. Goodwill is cancelled. I am never cancelled. which Lee runs, and it's wonderful. It's free of charge to join. Come and join us in the Discord and say hello. We are a lovely bunch of degenerates in there. We also have me on Twitter at Goodwill None. If you want to follow Synoiz on Twitch, the link is down there below. We've got links to the Velvet Snatch and the Girl podcast. If you really enjoyed the cover of Star Trek Voyager, I have got the link to Adam's socials, I believe, in there. He is a tremendous musician. I highly recommend you check out everything he has done. A wonderful, tall mountain of a bearded man that would give Anson Mount me a run for his money.
I'd climb him like the jungle gyms from Code of Honor. That's
ooh.
Yes. I managed to make it creepy and relevant.
The jungle Adam, the jungle gym.
After this, I'm going to be probably in about half an hour. If you're still around, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch. We're going to be playing more Final Fantasy VIII. Yes. While I've got this, I'm going to be ordering pizza again, because maybe that's a thing, and I kind of forgot to eat today.
What pizza?
I don't know, meaty or something. You know that thing where who in the chat has this, where basically you go, oh, I'm going to order something different because I always order the same thing, and then as soon as the menu's in front of you, you're like, it's the same thing. Yeah, no, I'm really bad for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably be doing that because that's easier, and I probably won't get a chance to cook tonight. But no, thank you everyone who's been in the chat. It's been absolutely lovely. And obviously Nerdy Up North is pointing out that I will be back on Sunday at 7.
We were going to get to that. Yes.
We were going to get to that.
Yes. This Sunday on the.
I haven't watched it. I've got to watch it on like Sunday daytime. And be like, yeah, I remember this shit.
Bulge and Puppets. This Sunday, Nerdy Up North will be discussing all things Labyrinth with the wonderful Synoiz, the wonderful Paul, and the rather delectable Sammy. her BBC voice, because she's been on the BBC, don't you know?
BBC is British Broadcasting Company, isn't it?
No,
It's
isn't.
not the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, it's exactly what you think of.
Oh,
So,
daddy.
daddy. So, we will be doing Labyrinth on Sunday, 7:30 UK time. On Monday, there will be a brand new episode of Monsters Up North. So be sure you check all of our socials for all the promos going forward. Until then, and until next week, I have been your host, Captain Goodwill. This has been Mirror Universe Synoiz. Live long and prosper. Live long and prosper. Take care of yourselves. Look after each other. Be kind. Don't be a dick. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Get a haircut and a proper job.
Miles?
Miles?